Welcome to Pivot Parenting, where we help parents of teens overcome regret and disappointment to find peace and connection in every situation. I'm Heather Frazier, your parenting expert. Journey with me to discover effective parenting tips, improve family relationships, and build a brighter future for your kids. Buckle up, things are about to get better. Hey. Today is such a valuable topic. I'm so excited to teach this protocol to you. It's going to be a game changer, especially if you err on the fairly indecisive side and your kids do. Sometimes I just have topics that I really love. And I hope that this resonates with you. This is one of those things I just was like, yes, this is what I need to teach my people. This may have come from the other night. My daughter, she said right after telling a boy that she'd never really spoken to yes for a school dance, she got home from delivering the poster and was so distraught. What if I haven't made the right decision? What if it will be terrible? What if I should have said no? What if I should have said no? And we talked about it for a minute. And now we have this episode, my friend. The truth is, we all do this. And as our kids are just stepping into the realm of bigger decisions, plus, their brains are hardwired to have more neural pathways. They're going through a lot of neural blooms right now, growth spurts in your brain, if you will. And so their emotional response is quite literally bigger than ours because they have more emotional capacity with all of their little dendrites that are firing and trying to connect. So it feels more dramatic to them because it is more dramatic to them. So choices can really feel like life or death. And it's really important that we as parents are equipped with how to talk our kids through this. Not only does it serve them now, but it will serve them for the rest of their life because they are going to learn this protocol and they are going to become really quick, healthy decision makers if we can get them used to this. First off, it's normal and okay to not know how to make decisions, to be indecisive. I'm going to talk you through how to talk your teens through the freak out, the meltdowns that are unavoidably part of adolescence and, quite frankly, adult life as well. As the title suggests, I'm describing this for you to help your kid. But this all applies to how every human, including you, can make decisions quicker, easier, and with less to no regret or second guessing. I think second guessing is one of the biggest wastes of time and effort and emotional energy that any of us can do. When we regret, when we look back, when we spin out because of what happened, you're going to love how easy it is to help your kid understand how to decide on everything: jobs, dates, classes to take, colleges to attend, hobbies to consider, down to the little details of every day, like which homework to begin with first, what to wear, how to respond to a text. All of the things are going to apply to this protocol. So let's get started with the number one hidden reason why decision making is so difficult and how we can overcome it. And there's only one reason. And it's the one that we don't think. We think that we should look at the pros, look at the cons, see what we want in the future. None of that. We want to avoid spinning our wheels in I'll think about it, or I don't know what to do, or I can't decide, by understanding our thoughts. What are the reasons for not wanting to make a decision? So we're not even looking at the decision. We're looking at the space around the decision. For example, it is high season to be applying to colleges right now. We're creeping up on the end of the year. Kids are going to be deciding where to apply to college, if they want to go to college, all the things. So let's use that example. Instead of, I don't know what to do, I don't know if my grades are good enough, I can't decide. What are the reasons for not wanting to make the decision of where to look in college? Is it because they don't want to hurt their parents' feelings by moving too far away? Is it because they really want to move far away, but they don't want to pay out of state tuition? Is it because they feel really self conscious of how they did in school or extracurriculars? Or do they want to go with their friends or their significant other, but they don't know if those people want them there? We want to look at the reasons for wanting to make the decision, not wanting to make the decision. So we're going to look around the box. We're not looking at the box. Now, spoiler, this typically sounds, generally speaking, wanting to avoid discomfort. So we're going to need to embrace the truth that in order to make decisions, you have to deal with something you don't want to. And then it becomes much more clear and simple to make a decision. Let me give you some examples. I see parents unknowingly spinning out on this all the time because all of us want to have our cake and eat it too. This can sound like, I know they broke curfew and there are consequences, but I just couldn't follow through. They were already upset. I don't know what to do. Or, how do I tell my kid no without upsetting them? They're skirting the issue. They're deciding how to approach topics in such a way that it's not uncomfortable or hard for anybody. That doesn't exist, my friend. I'm sorry. Or parents can say, I just want them to be happy while they're trying to decide if they should let their kid go unchaperoned on a weekend road trip with a bunch of their friends and they've been begging to do it and all the other parents are saying yes, but you don't really want to. It can be our gut telling us one thing and our brain says another in anything, in getting them a phone, in following through with consequences, in establishing rules, in saying no, in encouraging them to do something that we know that they won't like. The teen version of this can sound like, I caught my friend talking trash about me and I want them to be my friend, but it hurt my feelings and I don't know what to do. Or, I don't know if I should take AP classes or concurrent enrollment or just have a really fun senior year. And so they delay scheduling classes until availability is gone. Because guess what, my friend? No decision is still a decision. It's just letting time decide for you. Or dating a person that they know they don't want to date. It was fun at first, but it's not fun anymore. And they're unsure of how to end things well. So they might try to gaslight themselves and remind themselves of why they like dating the person. Or they might put up with really poor behavior, or they might behave poorly and just kind of ghost and not be very nice to the person in return and behave in an immature way. All of the reasons that either we as parents or our kids get stuck in indecision are actually just one reason: feelings. Our beliefs, our thoughts that create our feelings. Avoiding discomfort of choosing, of having to act, of the potential fallout or aftermath that we'd have to deal with. We want to help our kids figure out what their specific thought is or the feeling that they are trying to avoid that's driving their indecision. This is the key to applying the process that I'm about to outline for you. Here are some common reasons to kind of get you thinking. It's scary. Number one, probably driving factor. No, it's too scary. And our kids will even say, it's too scary. I don't want to have to go talk to my teacher about my homework. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do in that class. It's scary to say or do things that they are not accustomed to. And it might seem really simple for you and I who have been doing it for decades, but for them, it could be the first couple of times that they are having hard conversations with people outside of the home, like breaking up with someone. That's really scary if you've never done it before. And so that can be a common reason why our kids sit in indecision. It's scary. Probably the number two reason that I see is fear of failure. So choosing a job, a sport, an instrument, a college, AP class, anything to invest time and effort into. Well, guess what? What if I fail? What if I don't get the job? What if I don't make the team? And typically, that fear of failure, the subconscious belief just behind that is if I fail, that means I'm stupid, bad, unlovable, unworthy, awful. So there's a lot of emotional risk in failure. So a lot of times they won't make decisions, especially think about applying to colleges. What if I don't get in? So I'm not going to shoot big. Have you seen the reel about the girl who applied to Harvard as a joke? She got in. She would have never applied except she did it as a joke. And so for our kids to understand failure, how it's actually the path to success, that it doesn't mean anything bad about them, except that they're trying, and that's actually a good thing, that's huge. A third reason why our kids are stuck is because it takes effort to make decisions. Now, I'm not saying that our kids are lazy. I'm saying we're all lazy because guess what? We're all hardwired to conserve energy. Some of us more than others. And we don't want to do more than the minimum most of the time. So choosing to add things to our day can be very daunting, even if we know they're beneficial. How many of us know that exercise and cooking meals at home are really good things, but we can't decide when to put it on the calendar, or we can't decide what recipe to make or what night we'll make it. And so in indecision, there is nothing happening because our brain is like, that's too hard. I don't want to figure it out. We are all lazy in this way. And I say lazy in the most loving way because it's not a bad thing. It's actually how we've conserved energy to survive as a human race. So please don't hate on yourself or your kid for not wanting to do things because it's hard. They're human. Congratulations. Everything is okay. There's not a problem here. But that's a really good thing to discover if that's their reason. And then help them unpack that to decide if the value they would get is worth the effort or not. And we'll get to that in a second. And then the fourth most common feeling is people pleasing. It's not really what they want, but they're too afraid to advocate for themselves at the fear of disappointing or upsetting others. So indecision is their safe response. This is especially true when it comes to things that are seen as moral. Like your kid is wishy-washy on serving a mission or going to church. We need to understand their why with as much love and understanding and dropping the judgment. These reasons, it's scary, fear of failure, that it will take effort, or people pleasing, are so much more readily discovered in our kids if we have established unconditional love with them. If they know that they can say things and be honest with us, and we're not going to lecture, we're not going to cry and be disappointed and upset, we're just going to show up and love them and support them. We need to listen to them. We need to ask valuable questions and not lecture, which I have to say, next week, episode 241, is all about listening. And so if you are listening to this, hang on for next week or download next week right now so that you can listen to it right after. Because listening and asking valuable questions is how you're going to help them discover the thoughts that are keeping them stuck in indecision or making decisions that they don't like. This is the key to applying the process that I am about to outline for you. Hi there. I just want to pause and let you know if you are struggling to make sense of your teen's behaviors, emotions are running wild, and you're looking to turn things around to have the family you dreamed of while rocking them to sleep, I would love to talk to you. I want to give you a special, powerful gift. 30 minutes with me, my friend. You'll walk away with more confidence, clarity, and understanding of what the issue is and your next best step in resolving any situation you bring to me. It's completely free. I love families and want to help yours be wildly happy and successful. Book this call by visiting my website, heatherfraser.com. Remember, Fraser is spelled with a Z-I in the middle. And don't worry, the link is also in the show notes. I look forward to meeting and helping you. All right, the juicy part that you've all been waiting for. What are the step-by-step strategies to guide our kids and maybe ourselves in making decisions that we can all feel good about, or at least that the decision maker can feel good about? I just want to offer that there is value in not taking a lot of time to think about it. In fact, there's a lot of value, or in other words, making a quick decision. So much time and energy is saved. And this is where people who understand and apply this protocol will find themselves in 9 out of 10 decisions. Just naturally, the goal is to have this protocol become like second nature. And so by us learning it and modeling it and teaching it to our kids, this is going to bless their lives so much. There is a pre-game before we get to the official protocol steps. And this is understanding criteria that need to be met in order to begin the protocol of making a decision. Let's look at what criteria need to be met in order to make a decision. Number one, like I just taught you, you need to find the core issue driving the lack of indecision. This is the foundation of the struggle. I understand that it's uncomfortable, but it is really foundational in understanding how to make good decisions. We have to be honest with ourselves. It takes a lot of vulnerability and self-reflection. These, again, it can be scary, fear of failure, it's too much work, or trying to keep other people happy with our decision. Another one is lack of self-trust. Like, I don't trust myself to follow through or perform well. But this is more common in adults because we've had more time, more years experience, self-abandoning, that this is more of an issue for us, that we don't trust ourselves as much. Our teenagers haven't self-abandoned typically as much as adults. The number 2 criteria or second thing that needs to be met in order to make a good decision is if we need more information. Do we need to understand what degrees are offered at what colleges? And let's say your son, like my son, wants to do something in the financial world. He needed information on some of the best business and financial colleges to make an educated decision on where he wanted to apply to college. So sometimes we need more education in our decision-making process. The third thing we need to pay attention to is if we are buffering. Buffering is when we do something to avoid the harder emotional work. And buffering can literally be anything. We all do this. It can be like our kids not wanting to start their homework because they don't know where to start and they're feeling really overwhelmed. So they clean their room or sit on their phone or go get a drink with their friends. That's buffering. Or a lot of moms that I see have a lot of emotions, and so they'll like angry clean. Instead of dealing with their upset, they'll start a new project or dump out the contents of a closet and reorganize it. But we can do this with beverages, we can do this with technology, but we want to make sure that we understand if we are buffering and what we're buffering with, putting off our decision making. So that's the third criteria. Then we have to understand time. That's the fourth criteria. If we can't apply or won't hear back for 3 months, we want to understand how time is influencing our decision. An example of this would be my 14-year-old wanted to get her ears pierced. And we made an appointment at a piercing salon. And we were there early because it was up in Salt Lake. So we drove like 45 minutes or an hour. And we were going to do some shopping and some errands up there. And we ended up being there really early. And she had decided to get her ears pierced. And we were looking at the different studs she could choose, and she chose the ones she liked. And then we had to wait and wait. For like a half hour, we waited. And finally, she's sitting on the table, and they drew the little purple mark on her lobe, and he's about to puncture her ear. And she's like, no, just kidding. I don't want it. Because time influenced her decision. So we need to understand how time is influencing our decision. Good, bad, indifferent. We just want to understand time. And then we also need to understand commitment. Oftentimes there's a fear of commitment. If I make the team, if I'm on the play, if I get the job, if I quit the team, right? So we want to understand commitment. And then there's oftentimes a fear of being reckless or unsafe. And this can be good or bad, but we need to understand it in this decision-making process for whatever the decision is. An example of this could be like my daughter at the beginning of this episode saying yes to a boy that she hardly knew on a date. Now, it was a group date. She ended up having a grand time. But she did fear if she was being reckless, if she was not going to have fun, if it would be scary or unsafe to some degree. Obviously, if she genuinely felt like this boy was not safe, she would have said no. But our brain kind of plays tricks on us sometimes. And feeling reckless or unsafe can be one of those things. So we want to be onto that. When we can address each of these issues, then you are ready for your decision protocol to be applied. This is just the pregame. And this is often where most of us spin out, scrambling to find a decision. I just want to pre-warn you that your brain is going to try to scramble to find a decision that allows you, again, to have your cake and eat it too. It wants to avoid discomfort in the sense of conversations, taking action, all of those things. And so it will spin out in buffering, of wanting more information, of looking at the time frame, of wondering if it's smart or how committed you have to be. This is usually where our brain spins, but this is just the pregame. And we just need to hit all of these points until we understand them decently, and then we move on to the next one. So there's no spinning involved. It's a one and done to make sure that we have the information, that we understand the timing, the commitment, if it's being reckless or unsafe. That's it. Once you've taken these steps, you're going to follow through with the 5 steps of a decision protocol. Number 1, we want to order and prioritize our values. This informs every decision that we make. And so it's really important to be honest with ourselves and understand ourselves and know ourselves well enough to know what our priorities and values are. And that is things that we can do ahead of time, and we can look back on decisions that we have appreciated and ones that we have regretted. And they can also help inform what our priorities and values actually are. Number 2, we want to categorize the decision according to those priorities and values. Step number 3 is to embrace the discomfort. I personally, sometimes to get through that discomfort, like to visualize how great it will feel on the other side of making that decision. Step 4 is to move forward. Remind yourself of your values and priorities, and we want to detach from failure or success. And then number 5 is to create a backup plan and enjoy peace around either your yes or no decision. And we can do a worst case run and see how it will still be fine. Practice makes perfect. It's going to feel weird. And you want to ask yourself, what am I exchanging for making this decision quickly? Now, I just went through those 5 steps really fast. And so I want to go through each of them with more detail. I just wanted to give you all 5 in case you're taking notes and to have them kind of organized in your brain. But number 1, we want to order our priorities and values. So if we look at applying for colleges, I'm going to compare my 2 oldest kids who have both applied to college so that you can see the difference in this. Because it might be easy to say, oh, everybody should have the same priorities and values, but that is not true. The agreement that we have with our kids is that we will help them cover in-state costs. That is how much financial help we are blessed enough to support our children with. And this is under the understanding that they will try their best, that they will apply themselves and not waste these years of their life. That is our priority and value that we want to offer our children. That they could potentially, should they choose, graduate with a bachelor's debt-free. After that, we've decided that they get to be on their own if they want to pursue higher education. That's our decision making based on our priorities and values. So when you take my 2 oldest kids, my daughter, she graduated first. Now, she really wanted to go to school in California. And this was in 2017 or 18-ish that she's applying and getting ready to graduate. So this was pre-COVID. And she really wanted to be far away from us and have her own fabulous life in California. That's great. She applied to schools in California. We encouraged her to apply to at least 2 state schools for backup plans, which she did. And when all of the acceptances and the no's rolled in, she was left with decisions to make. Now, she got into a school in California. So when you look at her values and what was most important to her, she did the math. And with the average Utah state tuition that we would assist her with, she would leave 4 years of college approximately $80,000 in debt. What was more, the higher priority for her was in getting a degree without debt. Now, when you compare it to my son, he was very specific in looking for a school that was really good in business. And he's also extremely smart. He got an interview at Harvard. He applied to all the best business schools. He really wanted to go to Wharton in Pennsylvania. He also applied to NYU. What was higher priority to him than the cost was where he would go to school, because he wanted very specific business school degree. He ended up going to NYU in China. He's in Shanghai. He absolutely loves it. And for him, that was a higher priority than the location was for my daughter, because they had different wants out of getting their bachelor's degree. And so in making that decision, it was more valuable for him to go into some debt to get the degree from the place that he wanted because of the benefit that he believes that will provide for him in the future. And then also the living opportunity to be abroad. Now, he speaks Chinese. He graduated high school with basically an associate's in Chinese. He and my younger girls have done Chinese immersion. They're so brilliant and smart and speak Chinese. And so that was a higher priority for him. And so even though the same set of parents, my husband and I, we have two different kids with two different sets of values and priorities to make different choices for their college degree. And so we want to be really clear on what our priorities and values are. For me as a parent, all of my general parenting decisions come back to the priority and value of me unconditionally loving my kid. And sometimes that feels good for everybody, and sometimes that does not feel good for everybody because they are being told, no, we're not getting what we want because that is the most loving thing. But when we understand what is most important to us for our future, for our goals, what serves our best self, it is so much easier to look at the decision and see how it aligns with our priorities and values. There's a lot of clarity to be offered. Number two is just that it's to categorize that decision according to those priorities and values. If you're looking at college, for example, while prioritizing, you would want to look at all the information you've gathered. Tuition costs, living costs, how far it is to travel to and from home. The first year, my son's freshman year, to fly to China was right after flights started opening again to China from the US post COVID. And I remember looking at the flights for one round trip flight in first class was $30,000 and coach was $13,000. I don't mean 1,300. I mean $13,000 for coach. The good news is cost dramatically went down by the time we went over, and my wonderful brother is also a pilot for Delta, so we were able to get discounted tickets. But I was lamenting this to one of my friends, I hope airline tickets go down. They're between $13,000 and $30,000 each. And she laughed and said, well, a kid could get an entire college degree in state for about that cost. And that's just one flight to get to college. So we want to look at our priorities and categorize them. Where we want to spend our money, how we want to spend our time, the location, the amenities available, all those different things. And this is true with every decision that we make. Who we want. Let's say we are helping our child decide if they want to stay in a relationship. What are your values that are to be considered in this? And how do they align with the person you are currently dating? Really valuable question. Number 3 is to embrace the discomfort of moving forward, making the decision, doing the thing. And I just want to pause for a second that just because we have decided something doesn't mean that we have to shoot right out of the gate and take action on that thing. We can decide to leave a job or a marriage or move, and it might be at some future time. We can decide that that's our best move, know that that's in alignment with our values. And again, timing, looking at the timing, deciding how that decision is to best be applied. Embracing the reality of the fact that decision making comes with both the good and the uncomfortable is really important. If your teenager decides to say yes to a dance, for example, the discomfort of having to talk to somebody for the first time on said date dance is inevitable. Or by saying no, there's the discomfort of potentially not having a date to that dance. And so embracing the discomfort of whatever isn't in alignment with priorities and values and how that choice will inevitably have things that feel really good and things that are uncomfortable. This is where emotional intelligence really comes into play, how to understand and process and allow for emotions. It's what I work with on my clients, and they help their teenagers to do. Then number 4 is moving forward. And moving forward when it is time to act on your decision, it's really important to remember your values and priorities so that you don't second guess yourself, so that you don't have regret. And then you also want to not have attachment to how that decision should turn out for you. So, for example, your teenager is trying out for the main lead of the play or for the football team. Moving forward with the decision to try for that spot because it's aligned with values and priorities. You want to develop those skills. They want to have those talents. They want to have those resume builders when they go to apply for college. And then understanding that it's okay if they get it and if they don't. Because whether or not our kid makes the team or gets the part, they are still 100% lovable, valuable, talented, worthy, regardless of failure. And the nice thing is failure and success are defined by you and your kid. And so I would even venture to suggest that should they try out for the play and they don't get the role, that is still success because they put themselves out there. They tried something really hard and shot for their goal. That's 100% success in my book. And then the fifth one is having that backup plan so that you can enjoy peace around either saying yes or saying no. And this is really valuable to teach our kids. And this is for all the people out there who, like me, have this active little part in their brain that likes to play coulda, woulda, shoulda and has FOMO, fear of missing out, and all those other kind of things. So we can just settle that voice down in our brain. Oftentimes, this requires doing a worst case scenario run and proving to ourselves how it would still be just fine. So let's say your son needs to break up with his girlfriend. Things aren't going well. He's decided that breaking up is the way to do it. We want to do a worst case scenario. What if she yells? What if she freaks out? What do you think the worst thing she's going to do? Cry, right? Nobody wants to make somebody cry and be upset. She's never going to talk to me again. She's going to hate me. She's going to talk trash to all our friends. How is that still actually okay? Because if it aligns with your values, if you're behaving and deciding in such a way that you know it is in your highest integrity to make that choice, it's okay if people don't like it, if they push against it, if they freak out about it, if they want you to be different and try and manipulate you and coerce you into not making that decision. It is okay for people to not like our kid or agree with them, just like it's okay for people to not like or agree with us. So a backup plan, for example, if son is breaking up with girlfriend, and we've got the worst case scenario of her crying and freaking out and yelling and trash talking him to everybody that she can have listen to her. The backup plan would be to lay low, to not talk trash about her, to act with integrity, to understand that no storm lasts forever, and to be able to still feel peace around allowing her to go live her best life and him having his, and that being a no decision. Obviously, practice makes perfect. This process is going to feel weird, and we want to ask ourselves or our child, what am I exchanging for making this decision quickly? What I mean by that is once we understand our priorities and values, we don't sit on the fence. We just say, yep, this relationship is over, or this is the goal that I want to shoot for. And the benefit of that is exchanging a lot of drama. You're getting rid of a lot of emotional ups and downs, which unfortunately sometimes we humans can get kind of addicted to. We like the drama because we like having the attention, and it feels really exciting to have so much emotion coursing through our veins. But if we can make the decision quickly, peace of mind and not having regret can really fill us up much better. It's kind of like having a really nice meal versus eating Oreos for dinner. The drama is like filling ourselves up with Oreos. It's really satisfying, but it kind of makes you sick. Versus having a really healthy meal with proteins and fats and fruits and vegetables is going to fill you up in a different way. It's not quite as exciting. You don't get that sugar rush, but it's more satisfying. And that's the goal. So, how do we handle it when the wrong decision is made? First off, I would just like to suggest that no decision that has been made that's in the past was the wrong decision. It's just not very helpful to think, I've messed up, this is the wrong decision. I would suggest, at very least, if you can't get to it was the right decision because that's the decision I made, it was the most educational decision. It was for my benefit. And that automatically turns it into a growth opportunity. So I would really strongly suggest if you can embrace there's no such thing as a wrong decision once it's been made, because that's what was decided, that's going to be your most empowering belief. It's what was done. And I see people spinning out in coulda, woulda, shoulda, and it just isn't helpful. It's a huge waste of time and energy. And I know this because I've done it. My brain likes to replay conversations where I'm so much smarter and quick-witted and responsive than I actually was in real life. I don't know if your brain likes to do that too. But the fact is, that's not how it went down, and I decided to say or behave or do whatever I did, or my nervous system decided for me. And it's just a waste of time and energy when we spin like that. Every life experience is worth having, especially if you've already had it. So we can love it, we can learn from it, we can heal from it. But I want to offer you the biggest piece of when we're looking back on something that we believe is a wrong decision. That decision has exposed your values to you in a way that maybe you would not have otherwise seen. So, attending college out of state and you regret it and you're homesick and you wish you could come home every other weekend, that's exposing how important family is that maybe you didn't realize before. Or deciding to stay with a friend who is unkind and regretting that decision because they keep stabbing you in the back. That exposes to you what you value there. When you regret not ending that relationship, you really value honest, vulnerable, safe relationships versus a shallow relationship that benefits you in some way. And so we want to look at those decisions that we could potentially feel regret around and help them inform us of how we could do better next time. What value is that exposing that I didn't prioritize the last time I made that decision? And then utilize that value more intensely the next time you go to make a similar decision. My friend, if you want help with any of this, please reach out. You can email me, DM me on social media, set an appointment to we can have an official 30-minute awesome conversation. I want to support you, and I know that when you are supported, you can better support your kids, which I love families. They are the reason why I do what I do. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. Feel free to share it if you did. This is a really great protocol that I feel like a lot of families could really benefit from. So take what works, and we will talk to you next week.
Heather is the one, an expert in the field. She knows her parenting stuff, including how confusing it can be. closet 'cause